I'm super stoked to introduce this person because she has become one of my favorite humans on the planet, just a great friend, great human being. Lindsey has been a licensed professional for almost 2 decades. What? And she's a global Redken artist for the past 13 years. She's traveled the entire world for Redken, educating stylists, and she is just a super dynamic person. She was the 2020 L'Oreal Color and Style Trophy winner for natural texture, and she is a specialist in her salon for hair color and finishing on all hair types. So please, in the chat, welcome our awesome friend, Zambia ambassador, Lindsey Marie Olson.
What's up, everybody? Oh, Andrew, thank you so much. I couldn't be more grateful to also have known you for so many years. You guys do not miss tomorrow. Like, I learned so much from Andrew, and he inspires me every week. So definitely do not miss that. Absolutely. So it's mark your calendars, put it in, set an alarm. I am so thrilled to be a part of Transformation Tuesday with all of you guys. I am overwhelmed by seeing all the different locations that you guys are all coming from all over the United States. I saw India. So you guys are freaking amazing for tuning in today for a little education when it comes to styling. So as Andrew says, I've been behind the chair for almost 2 decades. Believe it or not, it goes by real fast. So if you are just getting started, it's going to go by real fast. Enjoy the ride because it is an incredible one. And a part of Redken for 13 years. And what I love is that I have both worlds. So I get to be with Zambia, and I get to be with Redken, and I get to be behind the chair. And all 3 parts of my career totally influence one and another. So I'm excited to share with you guys some styling because this month, this year, type in the chat box like a big yes if you think styling is totally going to be hitting it really hard. Events are coming back. We need to refresh and learn a cool new way to do some techniques because I know that the staff at the salon that I'm a part of and people that I'm working with are getting booked so heavy for weddings and events. So this is super exciting to share with you guys some new styling. So as you guys might have saw, it says modern, half up styling and texture twist. So let's get into here. You guys ready? So type in ready in that chat box. So let's bring over model number 1. She is ready. Already a little bit preset for you guys. So I'm going to take you guys through first the texture twist. And what I love about styling is that not only is it great for special occasions, but it's great for your social media presence. So what's going to make us stop and check out your work? And it might be, yes, the color looks amazing, the design's amazing, but if we can do something slightly different to change up your feed, your page, and also inspire your guests to wear their hair different for an event or for the weekend, it's just super beneficial. So this is going to be the texture twist. And if you've seen a little bit of my work, you'll notice I am I like a lot of texture. I specialize in texture hair, but I like a really undone look. I like seeing the grain of the hair. So these looks are not going to be on the polished side, even though they're really finished. They're going to be a little bit more of that undone, tasseled, natural texture feel. So if that is your aesthetic, definitely you are going to be excited for this. If that's something that's difficult and more challenging, because I know sometimes to be not have it perfect can be a challenge sometimes. Hang on, because I'm going to help you know how to let go and how to have the structure, but also have the texture at the same time. So we are going to get started. First things first is the prep. So think about a performance. Everything happens before actually the performance. You could be on stage for 30 seconds and it's the hours of prep that go into what makes something so dynamic. So what I did before we got started here is I blew dry on dry hair. So type in dry hair into the chat box because we are putting, I hope if I have it the right way, full frame on dry hair. So dry moussing is the best part to prep any hair that you're going to do any type of styling on. So dry moussing is going to help hold the style longer and give you more texture and grip. So dry moussing is what we did before we went in and started with more of a set. So I'm going to share with you guys one of my favorite ways to set the top of the hair. All right. So I did a couple of them already. And, you know, this hour is completely for you guys. Andrew is there. So definitely you guys have questions. Please do not hesitate. Throw them in the chat box so that we make sure that you guys get even more than you ever could imagine in this next hour. All right. So as you can see, she's already rolled into a couple because I wanted to save our time of the prep. So first was dry moussing. So dry moussing with Redken's full frame. Now I'm going to come in and I'm just going to spray a light bit of Iron Shape. And this is another one of my favorite products to use. And I'm going to come in with a 1-inch iron. This is the Sanvia 2-in-1 iron. I'm going to prime the base first. So this is super important to help prevent any of those little dents that might happen when we are curling. I'm going to take the iron in, and what I'm going to do is a horizontal root tong, figure 6. What that means is I'm taking the iron and I'm keeping it really close to the base, and I'm actually curling the hair towards the face. So if this seems like maybe backwards, maybe a different way than you typically would curl the hair in the top, type in different in that chat box. Because I know a lot of times we tend to curl the hair away from the face. And what happens when we curl the hair away from the face is that we get a lot of volume in the top. So we are going to an on base root tong, figure 6, and I'm curling towards the face. You're going to see the hair looks really shiny. The reason I do the dry moussing is it puts all of that control and shine on the hair without really needing hairspray. So taking that section just off after I let it heat up for a decent amount of time. And we're just going to put a clip in there to let it cool down for a minute. So if I were to curl everything away from the face, yes, it would be super full and voluminous. The look that we're looking for is a modern texture twist. So I want movement, but I don't need it to be poofy. So if you've ever had a guest go, I like it, but like maybe a little bit less, and I want to see dimension, that is what this is going to help do. You're going to see as soon as I take it out, but we're going to let it cool down. I'm going to show how I would prep the back of the hair. So another super, super important tool that I have to have is the Sanvia texture iron. So this, if you have not used it yet, this is going to be game changing for any of your styling because it creates so much body texture and grip, which also helps like create the structure in the hair without having to use so much product. Because if you've ever done an updo, and I want you guys to type it in the chat box, and at the end you feel like it's just, it looks crispy or too much hairspray, and then what happens, it ends up looking a little dull. It's because we need to have the structure on the hair before we do that. So using the texture iron with a dry moussing is going to help really set that up. Here's another really good hot tip for you guys. Take your sectioning clips next to your section and hold it in vertical. And I know because I work behind the chair, time is super important. So just take that section and you could just put it in that clip and hold it so that you can keep moving. All right, taking that Iron Shape. What's cool about Iron Shape, if you haven't used it, is yes, it is a heat protectant, but it also has protein in the hair. So it is going to strengthen and heat protect the hair all at the same time. So if you have already learned at least one thing in, I think, the 5 minutes I've been with you guys, type in an "oh yeah" in that chat box. So coming in again with our Iron Shape, and you might notice I have like a little Iron Shape. Anybody notice it's a little Iron Shape? So here is the deal. I do a fair bit of photo shoots, fashion weeks, and things like that. And I love Iron Shape. This is what it originally comes in. I use this product a lot, but I'm always trying to maximize my space in my kit. So I do use minis. So the reason I also love the mini is if you've ever had any challenges holding on to that beautifully sized packaging, the mini is really easy for you to use and travel with. So coming in with the texture iron, and I'm using small enough sections that you can see the texture. Let me make sure that you guys can see it. So you can see it coming through, but I don't need to take it all the way through the ends. You can, just depends on the look that you're going for. I really just need the substance at the base here. Again, taking that iron shape and spraying it from a decent amount distance and coming in and just pressing that texture iron about 3/4 of the way down the hair strand. So now what I can do, and I already did the other side, you guys, just to save us time so that you guys can see more techniques in your time with us. So the other side's already pre-done. I'm just gonna come in, and so is this side here. What I've done with the texture iron is you don't have to do the whole entire head. So you could just do bits and pieces to maximize the texture and the grip and the substance of the hair. So if your guest has really fine hair, this is gonna really plump it up to make it look thicker. So that's one thing. It's also gonna put grip in there. So when you're putting pins in, it's really gonna give you something to work with. So I already went ahead and I did the interior of the shape here, leaving the hair around the hairline out. So it really doesn't end up being visible in pictures at the end results. But if you don't need it there, as we're working, it's really just faster if I don't have to do the whole head. So you can take the texture iron and just use it in the areas to have a little bit extra substance. So now what we're gonna do is you need to really pump up that texture. So I like coming in with a small tooth comb and really going from the base all the way out, so that with that texture, it starts off that you can really see it, and then just coming in with a small tooth comb and really brushing it out so that you'll see that the hair is just gonna get fatter. So it's gonna get a little wider. So just working that all the way through. And like I said too, the first thing I did was went in with Redken's full frame on dry hair and blue dry that in. And I know some of you might feel like, oh my gosh, mousse on dry hair. If mousse on dry hair is something new for you, type in new in that chat box. Because I think it's gonna be game changing and I cannot wait to see you guys, how you guys use it. All right, so now that I have it all brushed out, she has a decent amount of hair as it is, but with styling, we really want to have as much volume as possible. And like I said, I don't want to have to use too much products because I want to have the most shine. Now I'm going to drop out those curls that we already set. So here is curl number 1. And I was on base, but I was rolling forward. So I'm going to get movement versus actually getting a ton of volume. So I want that really soft, romantic kind of boho vibe on the top. This setting the curls forward is what's going to do that for you. So I'm just going to take a little bit of Redken's Wax Blast and work that through wave by wave as I take them out. So I like using the Wax Blast because it has a really beautiful shine to it. And I want the movement, but maybe I want a little bit of structure at the base too. So you can come in as you're taking those out, just give it one little back comb at the top. My hot tip too, when it comes to working on finishing, and I'm going to share with you guys as much as possible. If you've ever been in a class with me or you scope out my Instagram page, I am happy to share as much information as possible because I don't know about you guys, but I have definitely gone through my fair share of learning experiences. And if I can save you guys going through a few of those learning experiences and be more successful behind the chair, totally all about it. So taking these curls one by one, coming through with a fine tooth comb, spraying Redken's Wax Blast, and just giving it a little push, slight teasing at the base as I go. So this is what the curls are starting to look like as we're dropping them down. So you can see I have movement, but it's not super puffy. And that's what's gonna help give it that really cool textury finish on the top. All right, you guys doing good so far? Type in good in that chat box. Like I said, any questions, please let us know so we make sure that you guys get the full time of your hour that you're investing with us. So dropping these out, coming in with a fine tooth comb, and then just bringing this hair all the way back. You guys are gonna be pretty surprised on how fast this actually goes, but it's because of the setup. So it's using the right tools. That texture iron, I can't stress enough how many shoots I've done, shows I've done, behind the chair work I've done, it saved me. It totally saves so much time. We don't always have all the hair, the quantity of hair, density of hair that we need when we're doing finishing. So that's going to help really give it the finish that it needs. So if you've never tried it before, it has to be in my kit. I have more than one of them. One's at the salon, one's in my kit for traveling, one's here to be giving education from the studio near the south side of Chicago. So I know you guys are coming from all over. I live outside of the Windy City, Chicago. All right, so bringing these all the way back. And don't worry, have you ever had that moment where you're like, it gets worse before it gets better when it comes to styling? That is a thing. So let me show you what's happening in the front here. So I have movement, but not poof, volume. I want just to see this little bit of movement that's happening here at the top. So what I'm going to do is, as I'm working on the back, I'm going to set a little bit more in the front. So I'm just coming through with my fingers and just breaking apart some of these waves. And I'm going to come in with little small pin curl clips, just like these guys. And as the front is here, and if you noticed, I would recommend setting the front very first, because if that's where we're showing off some of the movement, we want to set that first. So I would set the front, then go back through and use your texture iron in the back and the sides. So I'm just coming in and I'm just pinching a little bit with these pin curl clips while I'm going to finish doing the shape in the back. And then I'm going to take a little bit of hairspray and just set it. And this is just going to help hold a little bit more movement before I get into actually pinning the rest of the hair. Okay, we'll turn her to the side. All right, make sure you guys can see her enough. Let me turn it this way. All right. So now what we're going to do is going to work more of this movement all the way back. Now, when it comes to texture and structure, we need to start a little bit more controlled and then break it apart. But the tools that we use are, we're going to determine like how much control and structure we have. So you could come in and you can start using your hands and just bring the hair back like that. I could also come in with a wide tooth comb. So this would increase the level of control I have if I use a wide tooth comb versus my hands. But it still keeps some movement. So see, as I come in and I'm combing this back, it's not compressing it so much. If I want to make it smoother and tighter, then I would come in with a finishing brush and bring in all of this hair back with the finishing brush. So can you see the difference that happens as we change our tools when it comes to how we're working with the hair? So I personally am going to use a wide tooth comb for this look because I want to maintain as much texture and movement as possible. So I'm bringing all of the hair back, everything from the front and the sides. I'm going to start on one side and start pushing the hair to the opposite side. So getting the hair to a place where you're like, okay, that's starting to look good. I want to keep that movement. So you come in and keeping those ridges that's happening with that comb there. Maybe loosen it up just a little bit, but I can always loosen it up more as I go after I pin it. So think about if you've ever done a really like boho braid, we start with a really structured braid first before we just go to a really loose braid. So we still need some control happening first. So I'm just bringing the hair all the way over to the side, and I'm going to come in with what is going to start to hold the shape. And this is 2 bobby pins and an elastic. So I'm going to come in from the bottom. I'm going to bring 1 bobby pin in from the bottom. I'm going to hold that bobby pin with my finger, bring the elastic up and over, and I'm going to slide that pin down. And this is going to create like your cushiony volume base that you can spin and control the hair on. So the thing is about these bobby pins and elastics is depends on the elastic is you're going to get different results. So if I have, typically what I've found is that the clear ones are really stretchy and are longer. You can use the black ones. They tend to be more of a rubber feel to it. So depends on like what kind of hair you have. Like if your hair that you have that you're working on is a little bit finer, I would use the black rubber ones. If the hair that I'm working on is really dense and I need to have like more space to work with, I would then go ahead and use the clear one. So I want to know, type in the chat box one thing that you have learned already from tuning in to me getting halfway done with the texture twist. So let's hear one thing that you've already taken away from the setup for the texture twist.
I have to say, I really like the single prong clips in there. I think that's going to add a cool little texture to it.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
That's my takeaway.
Thank you. Takeaways from Andrew. I will definitely take that because Andrew has done beautiful work himself, been around so much talent. So thank you so much. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the rest of the hair and I'm just using my fingers on this side and kind of tucking that up a little bit. It's okay. I can work that way in at the end. And you're going to come in with the rest of the hair and again, take a elastic and you're going to secure those ends with an elastic. Typically, I'll end up like folding them under like that. And because I have this base here, I can just take the hair and roll it towards that base. And this is what's going to give that twist. So it's going to give that pop. So let's unravel it. Let's make sure we have enough texture and movement there. If I want this to get a little bit wider, I can take my hair here and give a little bit of back combing if it needs to be fuller. Same thing with the other side. So if I want this to have a little bit more fullness, I can use just that loose wide tooth comb and give it that little bit of extra back combing. Another favorite product, if I need more texture, is Redken's Triple Dry 15. And again, if you notice, I have the mini. It does come in the big one, but it depends on what your kit is and how much you're traveling, how much stuff that we have. So if you've ever noticed, like if you're a stylist and you're doing a lot of finishing, we have irons, we have combs, we have clips, we have all the pins. So our kits can be quite heavy. So I do love the minis for that. So then I can take the rest of the hair and I'm basically like pulling it like off the corner of the opposite side that I pulled the original side to. So I'm like corner back. And then I'm just going to take the hair and just roll it towards the base. So sliding this down and take the hair and just roll it towards the base. And as I'm here, I can tuck in the base on the opposite side. I'm going to come in with our hairpins. And I'm a fan of using the really big hairpins. So let me see. No, there it is, right? Like where would be a better way? So this is a very large hairpins. We can have the really large ones. That's a 3-inch hairpin. This is the standard hairpin, which is like 1.25 inches. So taking this hair and from the hairpin on the bottom, all I have to do is take the hairpin from where I'm starting to where I'm going. So taking a hairpin and bring that to the scalp and turn that all the way and fold it in. So I'm going to do that again with another one. If you feel that these hairpins end up being like they're sticking out, they're too big, you can just give them a soft curve like this. So you give it a soft curve so that as you bring that hairpin from the outside to the inside and I bring this around, it's going to tuck in and be closer to the head form. If you've ever been like me where you felt like hairpins didn't hold the hair, when I first started doing hair, I was like, these are just setting. These aren't like for holding hair. You really have to feel from where you're going, feel from where you're starting to the actual side of the head. So really like I right now can feel the scalp here. So as I'm taking this back, I can go from starting point and I feel the back there and bringing that all the way in. So I get all of that super, super tightness. So let me show you guys one more time how to secure the hairpin. So if you've ever struggled with using hairpins before, say me in that chat box, because I know when I first started doing hair, I thought these things, you guys could be walking to the front door and they're popping out, they're sliding out as you're going. So they really can be super helpful and much tighter than bobby pins and keeping more space in the hair. So we're taking our hair from the end of the elastic and then just folding it in and rolling it in. And it depends on how much texture that you want. Like this is not meant to look like a French twist. I want their texture to be in there. You can also even take like a little bit of hair and make like mini braids. And if they don't have dimensional color, like if they're just a brunette, I would recommend doing mini braids because that's going to really change the end of the look. So going from the end of that twist to the opposite side and then just sliding those hairpins in. So the end of the twist, feeling the scalp on the other side and then sliding those hairpins in. And just bringing that out there. And now with 3 pins, we have secured the end of that twist there. So now what we can do is spread it out because everything is super tucked in and structured. So now if I want to create more softness and disruptness, now that everything's already tucked in, you can start to manipulate the shape and move the curls and the shape all the way around. I'm going to drop these pin curl clips on the top because they're already starting to set. And so even if here, so as I see the back coming on, this is where I'll actually take the small hairpins and typically just come in and go up and down and weave. And again, right now what I'm doing is I'm feeling the actual scalp to create that ribbon like softness of more texture to the hair. So again, coming in with your hairpin up and down and weave and then turn it. The hairpin's actually touching the scalp. It doesn't hurt, but it's going to help hold it in. So then this way, if I want to loosen up the side and again, create these like soft, like ribbon pieces that show off the style, now I have more structure. So right now I can pull these pieces out because like I said, this is not meant to be really, really structured. It's meant to be loose and have more movement to it. But first we start smooth and then kind of pull it apart. So if you've ever done a photo shoot or work on a set, you know, we kind of like start with one look and then just expand and then pull it apart even farther and farther and just see, like, I swear sometimes like the best looks come from us like messing it up more. So as I see how I'm making those ripples with the hairpins. So again, take the hairpin and going in and out and then to the scalp and pushing that hairpin forward. So then I can pull the hair out and have more lift and ripples within the look. So again, everything, once it's completely structured, don't be scared to kind of like tug on it and move it around. You will get a really beautiful result when you let go a little bit, right? So I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. We're starting off really, really smooth here. So again, coming in and out and bringing the hair backwards and then forward. So that way, now I can pull these pieces out to create more texture within the shape. So do another one here on this opposite side. So up and down and then forward to create those little bit like a control pieces so that as I'm going, I can pull these out and have more texture and definition into the shape. I'm going to do one more on the top, maybe 1 or 2 more. And then pulling this apart. So now we have control, but we can start to break it apart knowing that it will stay structured, but we want to really loosen it up. We don't want it to look, I don't want to say the prom word because I love prom and it's a beautiful event, but we want it to look cooler than the typical prom, right? We want like cool girl hair. Coming again with the wax blast. And now I can use my fingers like, to keep more separation. So this is what's happening in the front from those pin curl clips. So you can see those pin curl clips gave even more separation. So those are great to use as you're working on the back of the hair. So now I'm just coming in with the wax blast and just picking up hair and separating it with my fingers to give it stronger texture. Again, it's always got to start off, it's very controlled, just like a braid would. You got to start off with all of that control first before you can kind of like play with it. So that's where that elastic in the beginning, the setting that we're doing by using that full frame, that dry moussing. So I'm just checking my shape. So what do you guys think? This is something that you easily can use for your special occasions, your proms, weddings. So we are definitely loosening it up, and yeah, super fast, right? So the other thing is, I think that styling is extremely important behind the chair, but it doesn't need to take 2 hours to complete a finish. So if you have a bridal party, or if you're just doing this to add on for a look for the weekend, we want to be able to create the looks really, really quickly. So this is my version of the texture twist. You'll also see, well, you guys will be able to rewatch this. So that's number one, pretty freaking amazing. And then if you were to ever scope out my Instagram page, you will see that I have videos of this, different variations of this technique too, so that you guys can have it as a reference of this. But structured first and then pull it apart and have some fun with it.
Awesome. Sonia had a great question, because I think that a lot of times we see this basic structure to the shape. So how do you adapt this kind of shape based on like face shape, and if they've got maybe a more round face shape or a more square face shape, and yeah, just the question of how do you kind of adapt shapes like this to balance out things within their face shape?
I think that is a really good question, Sonia. So thank you so much for asking it. So if she had a rounder face shape, we might need to keep some hair down to kind of contour it. So, something like this where it's all off the face, maybe we need to bring something from the sides to help contour it, to break it up so they don't feel like that. If they were really elongated, if we make too much volume on the top, it's just going to make them feel longer. So same thing, maybe we need to keep a little bit of hair down for that. The other thing is like where the sides are. What I love about this is this actually does flatter a lot of face shapes because it's not real wide on the sides. You're getting that movement on the sides, but how many of you guys have ever had that? You're like, the moment where your guest wants it really soft and like boho romantic feel, but if we make it too poofy on the sides, that tends to be where they're like, can you just make it a little bit tighter because it feels too round there. That's why the setting with the iron just happened on the top, and then everything else was with the blow dry and the texture iron. But you guys can see it gives it movement and shape on the sides without feeling like and it's too round. So paying attention of like, where does the face shape need volume and where does it not, is where you can position a little bit more or a little bit less. So I hope that helped answer the question for you, Sonia, but that is a very good question that you had asked. So I am super excited to share with you guys another look of a half up and half down. So in the chat box, I want you guys to type up half up in that chat box, because I feel like personally, half ups can be a little bit of a challenge of one, being creative with it. So if you've ever been challenged with like how to get creative with a half up, half down. The other challenge that I find happening very, very often in the salon is that I work on a lot of guests that have extensions. So if you have also had that experience where a lot of your guests have extensions, as extensions can totally help create a lot of volume and the length that we need. It 100% can help that. But it also can create a challenge when it comes to pinning the hair. So I'm going to share with you guys a few hot tips of like how to help with the challenge when it comes to like how to position the hair for half up, half down and extensions. And you can use this for putting the hair all the way up. So again, the finish on this is more of a soft, boho, romantic feel. So as you can see, the curls are a little bit more undone. And if you are like me, I'm always looking for another way to curl the hair to create a undone texture. I also started, again, before we did this, with the full frame on dry hair. So just taking full frame and blow drying it in on the hair dry before I curl the hair. I'm going to now just finish the last section of the head here, and I'm actually keeping her parted because on this look, I'm going for something again, like really like boho, loose, a little bit romantic, but not super, super formal. So I want to actually keep that part in the front there. So we can move it as we go, but if I'm curling towards the base, it's going to be a little bit flatter on the top. It has that little strong center part vibe, so we know that according to TikTok, that we are on trend. All right, so now I'm going to come in again with our 1-inch Sambia iron. And on the top here, I'm going to, again, prime the base. So always starting with putting that iron on the base before we just bring the iron in and turn it. So that's going to completely help you from having any like unwanted creases or dents in the hair. I'm going to elevate the hair. And I'm just going to take the iron in and I'm just going to turn it once. So I'm getting a little bit of on-base movement there on the top. So this is similar to the root tongue that I did on the texture twist. After I have just that one little turn right there and heating up the base, this is super important because the finish really starts with the control at the base. So after I heat that up like that, I'm actually going to take the iron off of the hair. And now I'm going to bring the iron in and wrap the hair underneath, and I'm actually going to slide the iron back and forth. So because I want more volume at the top, and now I want a little bit of a stretch. So right now the hair is wrapped away from the face, and then what I'm going to do is take the iron out of the hair, and we are going to wrap the last bit of the hair towards the face. So if you're looking for a super undone curl, something a little bit less is more, change the direction within the strand that the hair is being wrapped. So as you see, we have a not perfect curl, and that's what we're looking for. So if you've ever even have a guest that has natural curl and you're looking to just refine a few paces, rotating the way that the hair is curled on one strand is going to give you the most natural results.
It seems to me, just from what I'm seeing within social and what we're seeing within photo shoots and stuff, that the kind of very even planned out looking curl is pretty much not good at this point. Would you agree with that?
I think we've mastered it. I think you guys have all mastered the perfect beach wave. So I agree with Andrew. So now, like, how do we change it? So you guys have done such a beautiful job of mastering that perfect beach wave. So like, what's something that we can do to change it up and also, you know, give something a little bit more real. Like I said, I use this like word like cool girl hair because like how many of you guys agree that your guests like kind of like the look that it's almost like they did it themselves, but they didn't do it themselves. So they don't want it to look too perfect and too salon, but they want it to be fresh. So doing a rotation on the curl is going to be a way that you can keep it like super fresh. So if you have learned a new way to curl the hair by this new little demonstration that I just shared with you guys, type a big caps locks, oh yeah, in that chat box. So I'm taking that piece again. First things first, prime the base. And then on the first bit, give it a base, a little bit more volume. So we're coming in, root tonguing on base there, letting it heat up. Trust the process. Now, we don't want to leave the iron on too long, but I also have witnessed taking the iron off too fast that it actually didn't do the job. So once we have let the iron heat up the hair enough, we're going to slide the iron out. And it doesn't matter if I go forward or backwards, but again, bringing the iron, the hair is being wrapped over this iron here. And now right now I'm away from the face. And then I'm just going to change my direction and wrap the hair towards the face. The movement of the iron back and forth just stretches it out a little bit more. So if you didn't have the length, and you still want to create that different shape of movement, you can just keep the iron still, but still changing the position of the hair forward and backwards. And again, this is our not so perfect, super cool, super fresh, cool girl curl. So that's what I did to the entire head. And I just saved a few to make sure that you guys got to see all the gems within this technique.
Hey, Bertha had a great question. She's asking, are you still using heated rolls for preparing hair? I'm guessing she means like hot rollers. Do you work with hot rollers at all?
So I have worked with hot rollers. They are not my go-to on an average, and it's more because of a kit, where if I can bring irons, they really take up less space. So I use irons more than I do use hot rollers. I will say what I have been starting to use more is Velcro rollers. So I don't know. I'm going to age myself. I know you guys already heard that I've been doing hair for like 20 years. So when I first started doing hair, we were setting so many of our guests with Velcro rollers. And you guys, it's back. So setting your guests in Velcro rollers for a really full, bouncy blow dry. And if you think that that's something that we should bring to our Sam Via education, that we should show you a really full, bouncy blow dry, type that in the chat box and we'll make sure that that happens for you guys. You guys get that education of how to do a super cool, modern 90s blowout using Velcro rollers, because that is definitely happening back in the salon now. I think I just have one more question. So thank you so much, Bertha. I hope that answered your question about hot rollers. I definitely like the iron. And I don't know if you guys have seen or know that I could be taking the tongue off as I'm doing this. So this is one of the best things about Sam's tools. So he has 2 different sizes of this iron. And talk about not taking up too much space in my kit. I have a tong and a Marcel all in one, so that I can change the type of tool, because as you guys can see, you get a different result when you're using the lip of the iron on the iron versus what happens when I'm wrapping and using it more as just a tong. So it's a totally different, like a wand. So it's a different end result. And obviously, I like both of them, even on the hair strands. So it's pretty cool to have the tools that will give me that within 2 irons instead of having to pack 4 irons. All right, so she is set. All right, so we see like what a Undone kind of cool, like this could be like the thing already. So I don't know about you guys. I think it looks really cool already. Bias opinion, but that's all right. I'm going to come in with a little bit of oil for all from Redken. This is by far one of my favorite oils to use on all hair textures because it's so lightweight. And I'm just going to work it through my fingers. And I'm going to start with my hands to break up these curls. So just a little bit of light oil and then using my fingers to break up the shape here. So remember what I said about the way that we use our tools to break things up. If I use my hands, it's going to be the least amount of tension on the finish. And if I want to compress it more and have it more go together, then I would start with a wide tooth comb. If I wanted to go even more together than that, then I would go with the finishing brush. So first, try to see what happens with just using your hands. Then I would go to wide tooth comb and then finishing brush. And finishing brush has to have the soft bristles like that, so you get more of the polish. So even on the top here, maybe I want to break this up a little bit more with the wide tooth comb, but not bring it all the way down there. So just taking this and bringing that back. So again, we are going for something just really cool and effortless. So if you guys still think that effortless is definitely still a thing, I think if anything, it's even more. Like you're actually seeing hair get less perfect, as Andrew was saying, and just a little bit more effortless. You're seeing hair get a little bit smoother as well. So here's what the waves look like all brushed out. Now, I could even go back in and flat iron the ends a little bit, but I like just that little bit of texture that it still has. I don't think I need to totally like flat iron those ends. You guys ready for like the really, really big hot tip to help you when you're working with guests with extensions? So if your guest has extensions, you are going to give yourself something to pin to. So in the back here, I've taken a little bit of the hair and I've created a braid, because the challenge with the extensions is as you're bringing the hair back, if it's tape-in or if it's hand-tied extensions, it's very difficult to find a base to actually pin the hair to. So I use braids to actually have something to have a base to. So I've just taken a little bit of the hair and braided it here and then wrapped it around. So if the guest actually had so much extensions here where I couldn't take it all the way from the base, all you'd have to do is take a tiny piece from, like, let me actually clip this out of the way so you guys can see. You could just do one. It doesn't have to be braided to the scalp. This one's braided to the scalp. You just need something that you'll place on the scalp to then pin to. So you could just take a section of hair here, braid all of this, and then wrap it back and forth. And now this is going to give you something that you have substance to actually pin the hair to. So this has changed so much of my finishing. I think it's going to be super helpful for you guys. So if you think that this was going to be something that you can definitely use behind the chair, type in super in that chat box. So I like super. It's kind of a fun word. So type in super in that chat box. What I'm going to do now is take a little bit again of my Redken triple dry, and I really just want to plump up more of the texture. So I'm going to go row by row. So I'm just spraying it. This product is basically a dry shampoo and hairspray. So if you love what dry shampoo does for the hair, this is giving you the dry shampoo effect, in addition to a little bit more hold of like a hairspray. So again, I'm just going to take it section by section, lift the hair up, spray my triple dry in this hair, and just separate it with my fingers. You guys see how as I'm using my fingers, I'm maintaining more of the shape of the curl. If I want to lose the shape of the curl, remember what I said, I just have to change my tool. Then maybe I would come in with a wide tooth comb or a finishing brush. But I like all this texture that we already created. So, and see how the curl doesn't look so perfect, but it still has like a finish to it. So let me make sure you guys can see what I'm doing enough. Again, section by section with that triple dry, and just adding a little bit more volume to that. So again, just using my fingers and lifting it up with the triple dry. If I needed to increase a little bit more volume here, I would come in with that Zambia texture iron and just do a couple rows here at the crown area. And if you've noticed, I'm also using these amazing Zambia dry sectioning clips. So when we're styling, we don't want to use metal or really, really tight plastic clips because it could change the shape of what we're doing. We'll want to not have it crease. So these clips have a little bit of like soft rubber on the inside so that when I'm sectioning, it's not going to crease the work that I've already done. So section by section, lifting it up, spraying your triple dry. And again, you can just use your fingers to softly add that movement to it and breaking up the set. So just kind of like play around with it. Like the more that you break it up, see how you liking the shape and the finish to it. So just bringing this back even more. If I felt like I needed a little bit of lift, just maybe in the crown here, I could just come in and for a little back combing, depends on how much back combing you feel like you need, your comb of choice will change. So if I want to get a really tight one, I need to have a really close together comb. So I'm coming in and I'm just pushing the hair right above that braid, dropping down another section, and again, just pushing up just really close to the base and just letting that hair go so that I can start bringing this hair back. The thing that I love about finishing is I basically like start to do the whole look before I start pinning. So if you've seen how much I've been manipulating the curl and the texture, you're getting yourself set up before you even put a pin in. So I can try to set up and see the shape of it before I start pinning everything to the hair. So let's see, I think I just want a little bit more volume right here. And you guys, if you're at the point where you're like, I don't enjoy updos, all I can tell you is trust the process and give yourself time to practice. To me, I always want to be a salon professional that can do it all for my guests. So if I'm a really big colorist in the salon, but then my guest has a special event, I want to be able to help them for all of their events. I don't want to have to recommend them to go to somebody else. So I want to be able to teach them everything myself. Not that I don't love my teammates, because I'm a part of a pretty freaking awesome team that I love, but I want to do it all. So now what I can do is, again, just using my fingers, just play with the volume, coming in with a little bit of wax blast before I start pinning. Now we can start pinning and creating a little bit of shape. So I'm going to come in with the hairpins, and again, where that braid is, I can just take that little bit of hair and just take that hairpin and pin right into that braid. So again, if your guest has a full head of tape-in extensions or hand-tied extensions, I have something that I now can secure the look to. So I'm just going to take small sections and take the pin from the outside of the hair and bring it in. And just like I did on the other one, bring it towards the face like that. We're going to start a little bit more structured, and then we can do what we did before, where we can start to pull it out. So taking the section of hair, maybe like you can even give it a little bit of a turn. If you feel like you need more control, I will take a little bit more wax blast. I think you guys can tell what are some of my favorite products. So triple dry, wax blast, glow dry. Those are definitely some of my favorites. So you see how easy this is giving me something to work off of. And then when it comes to the front, we can just play around with like how much hair do we want to keep down? Because this is definitely going to be like a softer, like I said, more like boho, romantic kind of feeling. So maybe I want to make sure like her strong money piece is left down by her face, but then bringing some of these sides in. So again, let's just take a look. And I'm just using my fingers. I find that the more that I can use my fingers versus a comb when it comes to things like this is going to help maintain more of that like natural, like kind of textury look. Once I start with going with that comb, like I said, it's going to really change the dynamics of the feeling. Not right or wrong, just as changing the way that the hair is going to feel for the finish. So if you want something more polished and more compressed, then yes, we are going to start coming in with a comb. So I can just take this piece and bring it back to that braid and maybe pull out, making sure that I have enough texture and movement there on those sides, and coming in again with the hairpin. So maybe you guys are surprised. I've only used like 2 bobby pins, and that was for the one with the elastics on the texture twist. So now we start to pull it apart. And we have all of that structure. Pull some pieces down. Again, use your fingers, not a comb, and start to pull some of this up. So now we're really getting a super soft look. We got to finish the other side. So if this is giving you a couple hot tips and gems that you guys can use behind the chair, say I type in, I'm using this in that chat box. Like this is something that maybe this week you can try out on even like your colleagues. Like I use a lot of my colleagues at the salon to create content and practice on looks before I actually start to do something on a guest. And I know, like, because I work behind the chair, I know we don't always have all the time that we want to create everything, especially the first time. Like we might want to give ourselves a little bit of time to try it out, make a few mistakes, mess it up a little bit, and then have the real deal when it comes to your guests. So super grateful that I have an awesome team that lets me do like little content and hair play days. So if you guys have not done that yet, I highly recommend it. It really helps you create the looks that you want to showcase on your social media. A little bit more peaceful, a little bit more fun, because there's been so many times that I've gone to start to create a look and I really just have to like start to play with the hair and see what I want to create. I mean, I have a plan, but everybody, when it comes to styling, everybody's hair is going to respond slightly different depending on their texture and density. It's not super black and white, clear cut roadmap. You want, and their face shape, as Sonia had brought up, their face shape's also going to change the way that things react. So you might start off with an idea, and then as you go, you might have to change it a little bit. But that's the beauty of styling and the personalization that we have as artists behind the chair, and just trusting your eye. So sometimes when you do that, when you're doing just like a content day with your teammates, that it's just a little bit calmer and more peaceful. So you guys can see that how helpful is this braid to really give me a base to pin the hair to. So now I can even just, I have all this substance and control. I can pull more pieces out if I want it a little bit more wispy, attach it. And like I said, I love hair extensions, but we want to make sure that we have a nice secure finish so that we can lock it in. So now that everything's really secure, I can just start to, again, just use your fingers, maybe a little bit more wax blast. And the reason I use the wax blast so much is because it's got a little bit of that extra texture because it's a waxy hairspray, which helps give that little bit of a shine, but also not too much of a shine like a traditional hairspray. And it's going to help keep that more of that like undone textury feeling to it. So that is why it ends up being like one of my number one go-to hairsprays. So
I like that, Lindsay, because that is one thing, kind of on no matter how good the hairspray is, if there's someone that moves a ton and touches their hair quite a bit, hairspray eventually is going to kind of break down. But with the wax blast, it kind of stays in there and stays pliable. So that's a great tip. Are you, when you're pinning that, Are you primarily using hairpins or bobby pins?
Yeah, so I only use hairpins. So I know, like I said, these might be challenging in the beginning. Like, where can I bring it? There it is. Okay, so the hairpins. Um, One, they're not all the same. So this hairpin is a very strong hairpin. So like when I go to open it, it doesn't just fly open. So if the hairpin is too loose of a hairpin, those ones, the ones that are really loose, are ones that I use to like create like a set on. But these are pretty strong. And the reason I use hairpins to pin into the braid, if you guys notice, I never used a bobby pin. I only used a bobby pin when I had it on the elastic, is that because the openness of the hairpin as I'm working, this helps me maintain the like looseness and softness in my finish, but it also still is because I'm going all the way to the scalp with the hairpin. It's going to lock it in and keep it really, really strong there. It's also going to help me pin into the braid easier than a bobby pin. The bobby pins tend to, because they're closed, they're going to smush the hair more. They're not going to allow you to attach it to like a wider area. So we have this braid here as our base. So the hairpins are definitely the way to go when it comes to like how I secure the hair. Very rarely do I use the bobby pins. It's definitely much more a hairpin action. So even like on the side here, if I want to create that softness, I can take that hairpin and I'm just weaving in and out. So let me make sure that you guys can see that. Really nice and easy. So taking that hairpin and I can just go in and out. And then what I'm going to do is like right now, I brought the hairpin towards the head. I can feel the scalp and then I can push the hairpin forward. So now it'll help me give this like softness and looseness, but really still keep that structure and that control there. So here is, it's our little half up, half down girl, boho, cool girl look. I don't know about you guys, but I think that this one, I hope you guys found that there is a lot of hidden gems when it comes to styling within both these looks that you guys can use to create your own techniques. They're just, it's not just about like the end result look when it comes to styling, just like anything. Like we never want to teach just one haircut. We want to teach you methods that you put your own personal style on it and make it your own. But these are just the methods within it that are going to make it easier so that the looks have the softness and the looseness that you're looking for, not crispy from hairspray, and that they last a long time too.
Yeah. I love that. And so often like the questions in the chat are, well, can I do this? Can I do that? And the answer is always yes.
Yes.
Like that's one of the great things when when the team is here sharing these different pieces of content, it's like mix and match, and that's where your creativity can come alive, and that's what education is really about. What Lindsey just shared with us was beautiful, and sure, go and replicate it piece by piece, but then start to think, well, what if I did this? And what if I did that? So yeah, it's all the pieces that you created for us that allows us then to go out and create our own creativity.
Absolutely.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
Yep. And like, no, I was going to say, if you've ever gotten to a place where a guest has showed you a picture and you've gotten to a place where you felt stuck, step away and just know that you have to also look what's happening. And that's where, like, as cool as it would be to see you guys post and tag me and things that you replicated that look like the looks, I would love to see like you just spin it off and you embrace like what the face shape is giving you and what their texture is giving you and their length is giving you. And you will come up with a beautiful finish that won't end up getting like frustrating. If we try to replicate things too much, it can be really frustrating. I've been guilty of it on sets. If I'm trying to create a collection, I literally will look at my inspiration and then I'll put it away after a while. Because if I'm trying to look too much to my inspiration, I'm missing out on the beauty that's happening in front of me. So just, know the hot tips that I share with you that are helpful, but, put your own style on it and embrace what's happening with their hair texture and density and face shape as well.
Love that. Lindsey, thank you so much for sharing all this awesome information with the Samvia community. We appreciate you so very much. Guys, please, let's type into the chat, show her some love and appreciation and gratitude. Lindsey, thanks so much. Hang out backstage. We'll catch up with you in just a moment.
All right. Thank you guys so much. And definitely don't miss tomorrow. I will definitely be checking it out too. So see you guys tomorrow.